Hi, this is my channel, The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. I'm wearing one of my fancy BookTube hats, and today I am doing the first of this year's BooktubeSFF Babbles. The BooktubeSFF Babbles are video prompts that are provided in coordination with the BooktubeSFF Awards. Anyone can do the video prompts. I'm going to link all of the information for the awards down below so you can check them out. Anyways, the nomination period for the BooktubeSFF Awards just closed, and the first Babbles prompt was nomination suggestions. Now, I missed in terms of being able to suggest things that you might nominate, so this is going to be more of a just what I nominated video. And these are suggestions in the sense that I suggest you read them. I've mentioned before that 2019 was a reading year where I did not get to a lot of new releases. I didn't love a bunch of the new releases that I did read, honestly. And very disappointingly for me, I only had 4 books that I wanted to nominate in any of the BooktubeSFF Award categories this year. Generally, the things I want to nominate for awards are things that I've given either 4 or 5-star ratings to. There are some things that I am expecting, honestly, will be on the shortlist that I gave like 3-star ratings to, and I didn't nominate any of those things. That said, these 4 books are pretty evenly distributed throughout the different categories. I think the only category I don't have anything in is the short work category, because the only novella that I've read so far that was published in 2019 did not end up being a favorite for me. And obviously you could tell, like, now I have a lot of scrambling to do if I want to read some things, including like some short works, before the Hugo nomination deadline closes. I'm wondering how realistically I want to do that and like push myself, whether or not I'm just going to say it's okay, I don't have stuff to nominate in categories this year. But I do have 1 middle grade book here to recommend, 1 YA title, 1 sci-fi, and 1 fantasy that is also a debut. So I'm going to start out with the middle grade book. This is The Dark Lord Clementine by Sarah Jean Horwitz. I have a full review of this on my channel. I posted it as my Halloween review. This book is a little spooky. It has some of those trappings, but I wouldn't say that it's specifically a very Halloween-y October read. It's about a girl named Clementine whose father is a Dark Lord who like rules this valley and this town from this spooky castle. And so she's expected, she's his heir, so she's going to become Dark Lord herself when she grows up someday. Except something terrible has happened to her father and she has to start taking over responsibility at the castle. While he is incapacitated, she starts to make some friends and wonder if being a Dark Lord is really what she wants to do with her life. I think Sarah Jean Horwitz is pretty good at taking some tropes that come from like adult and YA fantasy and modifying them for a middle grade audience. So I enjoyed this book. Next in the YA category, I recommend Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. This is a very short book. I think I wrote on Goodreads that this feels like a really tightly written political fable. This speculates a city that has, in the generation prior to the protagonist's generation, had a revolution that addressed society's ills by identifying the human monsters, quote unquote, who perpetuated them and bringing those people to justice. And a lot of the things that are sort of taken for granted in our society as, you know, struggles that we will always face, evils that will always persist, are in the city of Lucille unthinkable. Unthinkable to the point where they've sort of stopped teaching the young generation about how bad those things really were and how they were perpetuated. So the question is, in a city with no more monsters, how would you recognize if someone became monstrous. There's a magical element in here with a creature called Pet who comes out of one of the main character's mother's paintings, and Pet insists that there is a monster here that needs to be hunted. Everyone in this book is black. The main character, Jam, is also trans, so there's great representation in here, and it is a really quick, kind of explosive little read. Next, in the adult science fiction category, I nominated The City in the Middle of the Night by Charlie Jane Anders. This is very different from All the Birds in the Sky. This is a pretty heavy sci-fi story that kind of keeps playing with your expectations by making you dislike characters that you previously liked and then maybe like characters that you previously disliked, and it kind of does this to you several times throughout the course of the book with its cast. But this is also a very political book. There are ways in which this is a response novel to The Left Hand of Darkness, and some of the politics in this book kind of seem to stem from that. Like The Left Hand of Darkness, this takes place on a planet that has two major cities, two major civilizations, with two very different systems of government, and the second one we meet in the book seems to be like the antidote to everything that's wrong with the first one until you realize that it's just as bad in different ways. There's also a weird alien society in this. There's just a lot going on. So this is what I nominated in the sci-fi category. And then in both the fantasy and debut novel categories, I nominated The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. This is one of those books that I don't think is a perfect book, but I personally loved it. I do still plan on doing a full review of this. I've neither reviewed nor wrapped it up yet. So hopefully look forward to that. This is a historical fantasy, and it's a portal novel in the sense that, like, Every Hearted Doorway and the Wayward Children books are portal fantasies, in that this book has like a magic system that revolves around doorways to other worlds, as opposed to like classic portal fantasy where the whole point of it is like near the beginning of the book you go to another world and then you spend the whole story in that other world. This is like the more meta, we've turned this concept into a magic system form of portal fantasy that I think we're starting to see more of these days. It is also kind of a book about stories and the power of the written word in a way that I really like, and it does have this double narrative thing going on where you're switching constantly between the main character January's chapters and the chapters of this book she is reading that tell a story that you gradually realize how it connects to hers. So I loved this book, and I nominated it in both the fantasy and debut categories. So there we go. That's my very short list of recommendations. I am hoping to read more things to nominate before Hugo nominations close, as I mentioned, like maybe some novellas. I don't know that many of these have a particularly strong shot at making it onto the short list. If I had to guess what had a chance, 10,000 Doors probably has a chance in the debut novel category. Pet might have a chance in YA, depending on who's nominating. I don't know that many people have read Pet on BookTube, but those who have seem to have really loved it. I think Pet doesn't have a chance at the BooktubeSFF Awards, but it has a serious shot at the Lodestar. That's what I think. Yeah, anyway, let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know what you thought of them, if you nominated any of them for the BooktubeSFF Awards as well. Anyhow, I hope you're having a nice day. That is all. Bye for now.